अस्सलाम वालेकुम। क्या हाल चाल, उम्मीद करता हूँ ठीक होंगे, खैरियत से होंगे। मेरा नाम है जमी और मेरे साथ हैं शहजाद चौधरी। आज की वीडियो का टाइटल कुछ यूं है, ग्रेविटास प्लस 75 ईयर सिंस इंडिपेंडेंस, टाइम फॉर इंडिया टू रिक्लेम। तो जी, वीडियो देखने से पहले हमारी आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि अगर आप हमारे चैनल पर नए हैं तो चैनल को लाइक करें, शेयर करें, सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल का आइकन दबाना मत भूलिए। तो इस चैनल का जो लिंक है वो मैं डिस्क्रिप्शन में डाल दूंगा और आप इस वीडियो को ज़रूर देखें, ज़रूर विजिट करें इस चैनल को। और आज की वीडियो जो है ये मेरा ख्याल है मैथ के बारे में होने वाली है, और मैथ के रिलेटेड जो वीडियो होती हैं उनको तो सर शहजाद साहब हैंडल करते हैं। और अगर आपको हमारी ऐसी वीडियोस पसंद आती हैं, अच्छी लगती हैं, तो काइंडली आप कमेंट सेक्शन में हमें बता सकते हैं। और उसके अलावा जो है हम तो कुछ कुछ ना कुछ नया सीखने की कोशिश करते हैं, आप हमें सिखाते हैं, उसके लिए आपका शुक्रिया। आपका क्या कहते हैं और हिंदी में मुझे
धन्यवाद।
हाँ बिल्कुल। तो वो सर ने बोल दिया, तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं। लेट्स स्टार्ट।
Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. The year is 2022 and India is celebrating 75 years of independence. 75 years ago, the British left India and we became free. Or did we? Would you say we are still colonized in our minds? Would you say our decision making is 100% free of biases and inferiority complex even? Would you say our choices are still very British or Western? When the British colonized India, they were desperate to legitimize their rule. So they came up with the theory of the white man's burden. They built smokes and mirrors around civilizing India, painted themselves as a superior race. The British were superior, we Indians inferior. Thomas Babington, or Lord Macaulay as you would know him today, brought English education to India. His purpose was to hammer in the inferiority complex. They introduced an education system that hailed the British as superior in science, arts, even morals. On the 2nd of February 1835, Macaulay circulated his Minute on Education. He declared, "A single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia." Quick fact check. The Mahabharata is lengthier than Homer's Iliad and Odyssey combined. The Mahabharata has more than 200,000 lines. Iliad and Odyssey have 30,000 lines each. The Ramayana too is 3 times as large as Iliad. Anyhow, Macaulay did not hesitate in selling lies or spelling out his design. He said British education was meant to create a class of persons, Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect. The idea was to make the West aspirational. Do you think Macaulay was successful? I think he was. We're speaking in their language after all. Look around you. Many educated Indians today are very English in their taste. Some have become indifferent to their own culture. Do you remember when Coldplay performed in India? That concert was sold out. Do you remember when Justin Bieber played in India? Newspapers said the madness was unprecedented. But year after year, Indian classical singers performed to empty halls. Indian classical dancers get no audience. Kathak veteran Shobna Narayan once said that the Indian audience seems to have a closed mind to Kathak. But salsa or flamenco, those we would love to pick up. Because these dances are seen as aspirational. And nothing wrong in learning another dance form, it only enriches you, but not at the cost of denigrating your own. Do you know Kathak was first recorded in the 4th century BC? I don't know any Western dance form that goes back so far or has evolved as much. You know what else is aspirational? The Louvre in Paris. One photo of it on our Instagram and we have arrived. But India's National Gallery of Modern Art, which has one of the richest collections of contemporary arts, gets just 30,000 visitors a year. The Louvre in Paris gets 2.5 million visitors every year. The Tate in London has an annual footfall of 4 million. What explains this gap? Is it India's disinterest in everything Indian or the obsession with everything Western? Do we still blame Macaulay for this? Or our failure to invest in our culture? The reasons are multiple and the result is clear. Today, an Indian dreams of becoming Western, aping the West, or living the Western lifestyle. For an Indian, the West has become synonymous with advancement and modern living. But these are two different things, Western and modern. If only we could cure this 75-year-old colonial hangover, if only we could look through what Macaulay wanted us to learn, if only we could reconnect with our heritage, we would realize that it's us, the Indians, who have always been ahead of our times. Ancient India was aspirational. Ancient India was advanced. Meet Bodhayana. He lived in 800 BC. He calculated what the world knows today as the Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras lived in 570 BC in Greece. Most likely he picked the theorem from the Hindu sages he studied under. Have you heard of the Fibonacci number sequence? This is how it looks. Every number is the sum of the two preceding numbers. The world credits Italian mathematician Fibonacci for the sequence. But an Indian sage named Hemchandra wrote it long before Fibonacci. And Hemchandra was not the first, by the way. An Indian mathematician named Gopala studied these numbers long before Hemchandra or Fibonacci. Eurocentric textbooks will not tell you this. Macaulay would never want you to know this. An Indian invented zero, an Indian taught the world how to calculate the value of pi, an Indian invented the decimal system or the binary digits, or the heliocentric theory about the solar system. It was Aryabhat who first proposed that the earth is round, it rotates on its axis and revolves around the sun. Today we learn about Copernicus. We wear t-shirts and sweatshirts of NASA. But 1,000 years before Copernicus, Aryabhat determined the diameter of the earth. He also determined the diameter of the moon. The culture of science in India dates back 5,000 years. Did you know the modern English brick bonding was inspired by Indus cities? Today we look westward at the very mention of plastic surgery, but it was India that taught plastic surgery to the world. Meet Sushrut. He was an ancient Indian physician. He lived around 800 BC in the kingdom of Kashi. Sushrut Samhita is the earliest known document to give a detailed account of rhinoplasty. It also describes more than 300 different operations, some 121 surgical instruments. A lot of them are very similar to modern-day surgical tools. Sushrut would use herbs before an operation to prevent sepsis. He would also carry out cataract removal. This was in 800 BCE. Today we have lost out on this rich legacy because of our indifference to Indian heritage. And the West has time and again played it to its advantage. In the early 1990s, two American researchers staked a claim to the US Patent and Trademark Office. They said they discovered the healing properties of turmeric or haldi. These researchers were given the patent in 1995. Now here's what's funny. Indian households have been using turmeric paste on wounds for ages, but somehow we never filed a patent. Around the same time, a US company applied for another patent. This was about using neem as a pesticide, again something Indian farmers have known for ages. This patent too was granted. Do you think there is a lesson in all of these stories? I would say there is. The world we live in will always have false claims. History will always be Eurocentric. There will always be sharks stealing ideas and innovations. But if we don't reconnect with our rich heritage, we would continue to be fooled by Macaulay and company. We will continue to believe that Indians are inferior. The world won't remind you that the Industrial Revolution that started in the West was powered by the cotton gin, and that the machine was invented in India. India also had the earliest known dock. It was at Lothal in Gujarat. Steel was made in India as early as 500 BC. It is possible that Indian scientist Kannad devised the atomic theory centuries before John Dalton was even born. India was the first to smelt zinc by distillation. The first seamless celestial globe was made in Kashmir. It was by Ali Kashmiri Ibn Luqman. And despite all of these advancements, India never went on an offensive. India never invaded another country. We did not have crusades. Our ancestors not just taught the world science, mathematics, and astronomy, we also exemplified tolerance. This is the birthplace of four religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism. It is hard to find a heritage this rich. 75 years ago, we got the chance to reclaim this very heritage. But have we done justice to it? 75 years ago, Mahatma Gandhi led a freedom movement so that you and I could claim what is rightfully ours. You know, the great Indian heritage. But 75 years on, our minds may still not be free and our spirit of innovation not completely unleashed. Look at the number of patents India filed in 2020 and compare this to the rest of the world. This is just one parameter, but it tells you the story. Freedom is supposed to nourish critical thinking. Freedom is about being proud of your culture, your color, your customs. So let's stop looking westwards. Let's look inwards. We've been free for 75 years. It's time we reclaimed our lost glory. It's time we reconnected with our heritage and got back to being what we've always been, far, far ahead of the times.
हाँ जी, तो जी वीडियो यहीं तक थी और वीडियो में सारी की सारी बस जानकारी थी जो हमारे लिए कहते हैं कि बात बहुत आने वाले वक्तों में या अभी से मुफीद साबित होगी। और हमने सुना सारी वीडियो को बाकायदा बगौर, और जितनी वर्डिंग जो है वो मिस हमने कर दी, मतलब हमने सुनी तो ज़रूर लेकिन इनकी मीनिंग का कुछ पता नहीं चला। तो उस
इसमें ना ज़्यादातर मेरे ख्याल में जितनी भी इन्वेंशन के बारे में ना जो इंडिया से जो जुड़ी हुई इजादात है ना उनके मतलब था कि जैसा अगर मैथ के बारे में बोला जाए तो मैथ को कहते हैं मदर ऑफ साइंस। तो मैथ ही कितने भी आप साइंस देख लें तो साइंस के हर उलूम में मैथ का एक अच्छा खासा रोल होता है। तो मैथ के बारे में पाई डिजिट्स बाइनरी रिलेशन या बाइनरी डिजिट या फिर ज़ीरो से पाई तक ये सारी जो जानकारी है इसमें ये बताया गया कि ये सारी की सारी इंडियन इन्वेंशंस हैं।
हाँ बिल्कुल, इंडिया
और
के लोगों ने ये
बनाई। और जो सर्जरी की बात की गई, सर्जरी भी यहाँ इंडिया के बहुत सारे इस तरह के माहिर थे जो सर्जरी जिन्होंने मुतारफ़ करवा दिया, सर्जरी को इंट्रोड्यूस करवा दिया और आज दुनिया के खित्ते
सर्जरी का भी जरूरत, वो भाई बता रहे थे ना कि वो जरूरत क्यों पेश आई कि सजा के तौर पे किसी का नाक काट दिया, किसी की कान काट दी, तो फिर वो माशरे में
उनका वो डिग्रेड हो जाते थे वो लोग। अब देखिए ना एक एक बंदे की सजा अगर ये लिखी गई है कि आपका नाक काट दिया जाएगा तो थोड़ा सा नाक काट देने से अब वो फिर भला वो बूढ़ा हो जाए तो उसके पोतियां पोते भी पूछते होंगे ये नाक को क्या है, तो फिर
नाक कटा।
हाँ। तो फिर मेरे ख्याल में जैसे कहते हैं ना कि ज़रूरत ईजाद की माँ है। ये वही हुआ कि जब ज़रूरत पड़ी, जिस जिस चीज़ की ज़रूरत पड़ी तो पढ़े लिखे लोग थे, बड़े महान थे और बड़े ही दानिशमंद और बड़े गॉड गिफ्टेड लोग थे वो। और उन्होंने अपनी ज़रूरत के मुताबिक जो जो चीज़ उन्हें ज़रूरी लगी और जो जो चीज़ उन्हें चाहिए थी उन्होंने वो खुद ईजाद कर ली। सर्जरी ईजाद की, डिजिट ईजाद किए, नंबर पाई वैल्यूज़ और जैसे भी जितनी भी जिंक के बारे में या जो भी आप कह सकते हैं ये सारी की सारी वैल्यूज़। और फिर डॉल्टन की बात की, डॉल्टन तो ये कल की बात है। तो इससे पहले सारा कुछ वो जो हिंदुस्तानी बरस लोग थे जिन्हें आप इंडिया भी कहते हैं, इंडियन लोग, उन्होंने सारा कुछ ये इजादात करके हमें सिखा दिया और आज तक उनकी इजादात से लोग मुस्तफ़ीद हो रहे हैं, फ़ायदा उठा रहे हैं।
हाँ जी, तो मिलेंगे नेक्स्ट वीडियो के साथ, तब तक के लिए हमें दीजिए इजाज़त। अल्लाह
अल्लाह
हाफिज़।
हाफिज़।